My name is Kevin. I'm the youth pastor here, so some people refer to me as Pastor Kevin. My first trip to Cambodia, really it was my first international trip, if you don't count Canada or my honeymoon. So it was quite an experience for me. I mean, my first thought when I got there was hot. Our rooms are air conditioned, and literally it'd be a dream to sleep in, and we'd go out, and as soon as we walked into the hallway, I would just start sweating like crazy. So it actually really helped my skin. My skin's really cleared up now, so that's a plus. But one thing I liked about the trip, a couple of memories I want to share with you. First, Hubba Bubba. It's a bubble gum, and that's an English word that all the Cambodian kids know. Hubba Bubba. So if ever you go to Cambodia, just go up to a kid and go, Hubba Bubba. And if they respond, you know they're at our youth camp. No, but it was actually really cool. We had almost 60 kids come to Christ, and the next day we got to baptize them. And myself and Pastor Mike Mortimer got to be the two Americans in the water baptizing everybody with the Cambodian pastors. So there's 10 Cambodian pastors and then Mike and I. And we're in there, and the waves are just like hitting us in the back because we're not seeing it. We're watching the kids come in. These waves are just hitting us in the back, and this little Cambodian girl comes up to me, and I'm about to baptize her. And so I have my hand over her nose, and one person's leading all the baptisms. So he's sitting there with his hand up, and he goes, I don't know what he's saying. So I'm just waiting for him to dunk his girl. He dunks his girl. I'm about to dunk my girl. I see a big wave coming. And as this wave's coming, I just wait for the wave. And it's right before it hits, I just take the girl, dunk her right into the wave. And she came up, and she was soaked, and I said, yeah, congratulations. And I started clapping for her and applauding with her and gave her a hug. And I said, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And really quickly, because the wave was coming up on us. If you look at my Facebook, though, there's a page of us and the Cambodian pastors getting just hit in the back by these gigantic waves. It was something else. And I get out of the water, and somebody goes, did you see any sharks? I'm going, there's sharks in the water? That would have changed everything. I don't know if I would have been in the baptism. No, I definitely would have. And God's angels were there protecting us, fighting back the sharks, because apparently there's a bunch of sharks in the Indian Ocean. But we didn't get bitten once, and then all the kids came back. At least we went in and came out with the same amount of kids. So Cambodia was awesome. I'm so glad I got to have that experience, and I'm so glad God went ahead of us and prepared the way, and that we got to see the harvest. And our youth that we took with us were incredible. Not to put anyone else down, but honestly, to be truthful, Mariah Sisk, I was extremely surprised with how awesome she was. She talked the talk and walked the walk and spoke up when she needed to speak up and was a servant when she needed to serve. So, Mariah, I'm really proud of you. But really, I'm proud of the whole team. So, thanks for having me there, too.
So with these kind of experiences, mission trips and that sort of thing, you kind of expect to have a big spiritual experience with God and everything. I didn't really have that during the trip this year. Whereas last year, it was like, it hit me like a huge wave. Like, it was there. It was definitely definite. But this year, looking back, like even though I didn't have that big moment, it was through the little things, like playing with the kids on the beach or helping someone out, you know, counting t-shirts or doing tasks or like little things, just serving others. It was in those little moments that I really felt God, you know, serving others and feeling that love of God and sharing that to other people. So that was a big thing that impacted me. Definitely there, it was less of like, last year it was like, you know, amazing, first time and everything. So it was like more of like, it was almost like a vacation for me. Like, I get to serve God and go to Cambodia and all these things. And this year, like, it was a little different because it was like, I'm here to do the work of God. And, you know, there are certainly moments where, you know, I was tired and everything, where it's like, I just don't want to be here. Like, actually, I feel really ashamed. Like, at certain points, I was like, I just don't want to be here because I'm tired and I'm hot and I want to go to bed. But then, you know, God would always, you know, swoop in and say, Mariah, I've called you here to do my work. Now do my work. And so that was like kind of woke me up like, okay, I got it. Like, I'm here to serve God and to serve these kids. And it was definitely a really amazing experience because of that. It was just got to serve others, and that was awesome.
Hey, I'm Caleb Salmon, and I just got back from my second trip to Cambodia. This time, it was a little different from the first time. First time, it was shock and awe. Oh my gosh, I'm halfway around the world. What's going on? And I had no idea. I was looking for help the whole time. Okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? And like, I saw God there through working through our youth camp and stuff the first time, but this time I felt personally that like after getting over that shock from the first trip, I was a lot more effective. It was awesome just to have that experience, knowing that wherever you go, kids just want to have fun a lot of the time. And when we did the sports camp, they were so ready to learn these new sports. We had a coach for each American youth over there. We had a coach for them, a Cambodian coach from the David Center, to help them teach the games. And those kids were so ready to learn how to play these games and to teach it to their friends, and so that they could all experience that. And they loved it. They were having a great time playing Ultimate Frisbee. That was really fun, and it got pretty intense near the end. 9-9, final game, Americans versus Cambodians. And yeah, just the sports camp, I think, was the most moving part for me, because I hadn't been to the David Center before, so I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know what to expect there, so I still got some of that shock, which just totally brought me out of my comfort zone the first time. And it did that again this time, and it was great, because when I'm out there not knowing what's going on, and I have to rely on God to get me through these things, because like other people in the group will be busy doing stuff. People who have been there before, they know what to do, so they're already out there doing it. So it's a couple of us who haven't been there before and are out of our element, and so we just have to jump in there and throw ourselves into God's arms so that we can throw ourselves into the Cambodians and just have a great time with them.
Hey, I'm Devin. This was my first trip to Cambodia. It was quite the experience. It was one that I've never had before. Just watching the kids worship was something that we've never had here. The room just exploded with children jumping and singing and dancing, and the way they love Jesus is something that would be awesome to bring home. Also, part of the trip that was amazing was watching the kids being baptized, watching the 12 pastors out in the ocean just all linked in hands, and the kids, without any warning, just grabbed hands and brought themselves out to the pastors and all got baptized at the same time. And the other kids down at the beach worshipped in their own, and you could just hear the singing, the clapping, the cheering as the kids on the beach were just praising what was going on. Yeah, this was one of the colors. We had 4 of them, so it was a lot of fun to watch everybody in the camp have different colors and watch their teams go around with our shirts. It's a big statement. So I've only been back a couple days, not even a week yet, and it's that aha moment where you're just like, I really did that. And I haven't quite had the full effect of knowing what I'm going to experience from this yet, and I know I'll experience more as the days go by and I can really process it all.
Hi, my name is Jan Calvert. This was my second trip to Cambodia, first time as a team lead. I oftentimes during the planning process questioned Charlie about how he was allowing us to do what we did with so much trust and faith, and I have to say that it was such an honor to work with the team and to feel the love and support and encouragement that the team felt for each other every single day. And to a person, they were, each individual did exactly what they needed to do when they needed to do it, even if it wasn't their job. They stepped up and just made things happen in such a positive way. So I'm so proud to have been given the honor by Church on the Ridge to be a team lead. To watch your children every day as they're putting in 18-hour days, to work so hard and to be so encouraging and to be so loving to the least of us. It was such an inspiration, and I'm so proud of my kids. And for all of we had several opportunities for our young adults to also give testimonies and lead devotions. And they were all so moving and so appropriate. And to see our students working through really personal, very difficult things in their lives, and to do it in a very public way through a translator and through in front of hundreds of kids was so incredibly awe-inspiring. It was really amazing. Having the honor also to work with Transformasia, it's a long-standing organization, and to see so vividly what they do in a country that has a lot of sadness, and in a country where women and children are very disposable, and to see the powerful work that they do with the orphanage, the daycare center where they take care of the dump children, the women's center, the training center. We didn't have the opportunity to see all of those things on this trip, but the staff is so incredibly powerful, and to see, we did actually see a couple examples where not only were physical lives saved, but spiritually lives were saved, and there is nothing in my life that will ever compare to that. So it was an honor to serve with Transformasia, and they're such great folks.
My name is Jeff Mahal. Been attending Church on the Ridge for about 6 years now. I was pleased to go on my first Cambodia missions trip, something that my wife has done now twice and has been in her heart, and it's taken a little longer for me to go, but I went, and it was a very positive experience. Great country, except my sweat actually had sweat. It's very hot in Cambodia. With that said, it was one of those experiences that I wouldn't trade for the world. I think everyone should have to go through that. If anything, I feel more blessed here in the U.S. than I've ever been, but they've got something over there that is just really special. They ultimately are just a happy people. They're hungry for something, and when we were providing Jesus in that atmosphere, it really was just devoured. And as a guy, I always think of ROI, like, what is your ROI on this experience? Well, as far as we know, about 30 of the students gave their life to Christ, and about 50 then were baptized the following day. So that really was the special thing to me to see, because that's really why we're there. But I also know we're not responsible for each one to be given their life to Christ or be baptized. We may have just loosened some soil. We may have planted some seeds. It's not our responsibility to see the growth. We may never see the growth. But ultimately, a lot of these students, leaders of the future Cambodia, have now got a sprinkling of what Christ has for them. So to be part of that was really a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Maybe you're next.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Luce, and I was a member of the 2012 Cambodia mission trip. Before the trip, I gave God the permission to speak to me in any way that He needed to on this trip. One of the memories that really sticks out to me is unexpected. When we were in Kampong Som, Caleb actually had the task to teach all of the Cambodian youth how to make paper airplanes. And a simple piece of paper and how to fold it. You wouldn't think that would be too exciting, but to them that was. And one time when I was busy cleaning up garbage, I happened to look over, and what I found most surprising was probably 40 and 50-year-old male Cambodian pastors having the time of their life throwing paper airplanes. God really showed me that Jesus is already in Cambodia, and one of our roles while we were there was to strengthen and encourage the pastors who are already there. I just thought it was so delightful to watch these Cambodian men outside competing and throwing paper airplanes.
So I'm Ben Calvert. This is my second time going on a mission trip to Cambodia, and this was probably my favorite one so far. Probably one of my favorite parts was at the David Center when we first got off the bus. So when we first got off the bus, I was the last one to get off the bus, and I remember all the kids coming and remembering me and jumping on me and stuff. And that was really exciting and really fun to see that they remembered me. So Job, I remember him last year. He was my kind of like a buddy, I guess. And this year I found that he had malaria and dengue fever, and it was sad, but it was really cool to see that he was like getting better. So to know that he was able to like keep going with both of those diseases was pretty cool.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Mortimer, and this is my second trip to Cambodia, so it was really exciting. My husband got to come with us this time, and that was a real treat for me. What an incredible trip. The first thing I want to talk about is just our team in general, and what an amazing team we had. We had everybody pull their weight, no complaining. Everybody had a task to do that was really important. We had the behind-the-scenes people, the kids that were just involved with helping the youth play games, and everybody just really pulled their weight this time. It was great to watch the unity on our team. One of my favorite experiences this time was just the chance to be able to hug and love on one of the girls. We had a evening service and an altar call, and there was just one of the staff members actually from the orphanage that went up front, and I just noticed that she needed someone to hug her, so I just hugged her, and she just sobbed and just shook in my arms and was just sobbing, and I just got to hold her and pray over her, and we never said a word. I don't know what was wrong or what had happened, but I know that God did a really deep work in her heart, and it was really incredible to be used that way. The last day before we left, as we're headed out to the airport, one of the Transform Asia staff took time to stop us and say that this team that COTR sent in the 5 years that he's been there was one of the most incredible teams that has come. And he was really grateful for the way that we invested into the youth leaders and into the Cambodian pastors, and really felt like that we planted some deep seeds that are going to bring forth a great harvest in the years to come.
My name's Megan. It was my first trip to Cambodia this year, and I was nervous about going at first, and I wasn't sure if the Lord was calling me to go, but everything fell into place, and I knew I was supposed to go on this trip. I was worried about diseases and, you know, all the stuff you worry about, but I didn't even take my own malaria pills when I was going, and I didn't worry about it. I didn't know very many of the youth going on the trip except for Mariah. And I really do feel like we created our own little family. You know, we go to church we all go to youth group together, and we don't really know each other. And you get to know people in such a short amount of time so quickly that it's just amazing. Every time I went outside and saw the boys playing with the kids, they were always just so into it, and they loved it, and I was amazed, because I don't think I would have been able to be out there in the hot sun that whole time with the kids. And they were awesome. Especially Ryan. He was kind of shy and secluded, and then once he got around those kids, he just loved on them, and it was great to see him kind of open up like that. The most impactful moment for me was when I got to talk with the two girls that we found on the beach that ran away from their pimps, and just pray with them, and we just stood in this little circle, and I think that is probably the time I felt God the most in my whole life. We just kept praying and praying and praying over these girls, and we just told them we love them, and God loved them, and Jesus loved them, and I think that was the most impactful moment of the whole trip. They were beautiful girls, and it was just so sad to see what they've been through and what I have, and how I'm so lucky to live here and live on the Ridge and go to church on the Ridge and have that family church feeling when they don't have that. And you just learn so much from these people. You really do. I think I'm definitely going to go again, because I fell in love with all the kids and the girls, and just reminding them that God loves them. And that was my main moment.
My name is Damaris Melton. This was my very first trip to Cambodia and my very first mission trip. It was an amazing experience. It was just filled with God's love and transforming power. There are so many things that I could speak on. I will choose a few. The David Center was a huge blessing. I got to be in the midst of just wonderful children, and I just love to be around children, so that was a huge highlight. We got to create things together, and I brought some art supplies, but had a plan to make a flower, and they surprised me by creating these amazing, beautiful things. One boy, Johnny, who I read with quite a bit, made a car out of the scraps of paper. It was just outstanding. And then I got to read with a little girl named Ratna, and that was a huge blessing because I brought books that I had collected, and I got to see them read. And then it was outstanding because the second day we got there, they had all the books displayed in their library, and they kept hugging the books and showing their appreciation. So it's a huge highlight. Definitely the trip to the beach and the youth camp was just, God was on fire the whole time, and just lifting everyone up. And it was tremendous to see the baptism. That, of course, was the highlight. And then one of the girls that was taken off of the streets, she and I just connected by, I don't know how we just connected, probably just by God, but we just started hugging, and I was praying with her, and it was an amazing God moment. Just felt God's love permeate through her to me and vice versa. So that was another great thing.
Hey there, I'm Sam Calvert, and this is my second trip to Cambodia. While we were there on the second trip, we immersed ourselves into a coach's clinic with some of the youth there. And the idea of that was to empower the youth and to put them in power, so once we leave, we still have the impact in that country. What is it? I think it's 50% of the people are under the age of 20. So leadership skills in that country especially are, really important. And especially when you're teaching them skills with Christ, it's also another thing that's good, I guess. I think what ended up happening while we were trying to teach them is they ended up teaching us, I think, probably more than we would have ever taught them. And a lot of the things we were teaching them, were a lot of games and things like that. But when it comes down to it, it was a lot of times, the team was stepping up and, for instance, picking up trash after the people and, doing things like that. But when it came down to it, a lot of it was the Cambodian youth leaders, after. And I'd like to say, and I'd like to get credit for, teaching them those leadership skills. But in the end, I think it was the people there and the personalities they had.
My name is Mike Mortimer. This was my first trip to Cambodia, and no matter how much I thought I was prepared, of course, when the trip is done and I look back, there's no way to completely compare or prepare for a trip like that. Absolutely phenomenal, just amazing. And the first thing that comes to mind when I think about the trip here a week past when we've been home is just how strong our youth and our youth leadership team was. And in the words of our fearless leader, Jan, that we are so proud of our team, specifically our youth, that we've run out of proud. And Kevin did such an amazing job on this trip. I just was extremely proud of our team, and you as a church family can be proud as well. Jeff Mihal and I went down and separated from the group, went down into southern Cambodia in a town called Battambang, and did some leadership training and for the first half of camp. And we have maybe some different stories than what some of the other kids had in doing the sports camp up north. One of those things was on our trip down to Battambang, we were being driven by a local Cambodian, and driving in Cambodia is a whole other experience, which I can't explain. You just need to experience it for yourself. But all of a sudden we pulled over alongside the street in front of this lady's house, and there was a small little, looked like a hot dog shack that's selling hot dogs, but I could see hanging that there was a peculiar barbecued animal hanging, about yay big. And sure enough, the Cambodian jumped out of the car, went and made the transaction, grabbed two of these critters, brought them back into the car, and Jeff and I are sitting in the back thinking, what in the world is in this car with us. And so we started a guessing game, and the first guesses were normal foods, beef and duck, and that's not what it was. And finally we found out that it was rat, which is wonderful delicacy, in Cambodia. But we found out that you want country rat, not city rat. And actually, probably within 5 miles, Jeff was starting to think maybe this was smelling really good, and that he should try some barbecue rat. But we never did. But I've actually found the food to be absolutely amazing in Cambodia. That was one of my fears in preparation of going on the trip, and I was really surprised of how wonderful the food was. And I think one of the most impacting things for us was a time that we went out with 10 of the senior pastors of Cambodia, and we took them out to dinner, just Jeff and I, and a couple of translators, and to see these 10 pastors that have, many of them, been through the Khmer Rouge. Many of them are towards the last phase of their ministry in their life, and they're over 50, which in Cambodia is an old, a lot of years lived. And then a few younger pastors, and to watch these pastors smile from ear to ear as we're eating together, and we don't have the same language, but over a shared meal and some Coca-Cola, how we connected and were able to experience life with these men is just an impact that I'll never forget. And it's really an opportunity that I think anybody that in their heart thinks, maybe there is a place for me to go on a trip someday. I want to encourage you that I wasn't all that excited to go on a trip. I didn't know what to expect, and I want to encourage you that what God has in store isn't anything that you can imagine. It's greater than, and it's a blessing for you as well as what you can do for other people. And that going on a trip to Cambodia, as an example, it isn't all mission trips like you think, where you're in dirt and mud and working your fingers to the bone. We have a lot of fun, not just with one another and our wonderful team, but with the local Cambodian people as well. A lot of smiles and a lot of laughter that will impact you for the rest of your life.